This is what happens when life itself begins to move like a force of nature. This is not a disaster caused by volcanoes, earthquakes, or storms. And nowhere does this story begin more dramatically than at a river in Africa, where every leap can mean the difference between survival and defeat. There are moments when animals no longer seem like small creatures scattered across the natural world. Across the Serengeti and Masai Mara grasslands can stretch all the way to the horizon. During the migration season, thousands of wildebeest move together in search of fresh grass and water. From a distance, the herd looks like a river flowing across the land. But then they stop at the edge of a river. Beneath the surface, crocodiles lie perfectly still. The current is not violent, but it is strong enough to pull down the weaker animals. On the bank, the herd hesitates. They press together, step back, and wait. Then suddenly one wildebeest jumps. Within seconds, the entire riverbank erupts. Water explodes into the air. Calls echo across the crossing. Massive bodies plunge in at once, pounding through the waves, colliding with one another, desperately trying to reach the far shore. Some are swept away by the current. Some are dragged beneath the water by crocodiles. But behind them, the herd keeps coming. They do not cross because they want to. Migration is not a choice. As the dry season changes, the grasslands the wildebeest must follow food and water. The river is simply one deadly boundary along the way. What makes this moment powerful is not only the crocodiles. It is the feeling that the entire herd is gambling at once. Stay behind and starve, or jump into the water and face death. In Africa, life must cross the water to keep moving forward. But in North America, another species also rushes into the current, not to find grass, but to return to the place where it was born. Salmon begin their lives in cold freshwater rivers. Later, they leave those rivers and swim into the ocean, growing up in a world far larger than the one where they began. But at a certain point, instinct pulls them back. They return to the same river where they were born to reproduce. The problem is that the journey home is anything but easy. The water pushes against them. Small waterfalls rise like walls. Sharp rocks wait beneath the surface. And in narrow sections of the river, brown bears are already waiting. One by one, the salmon launch themselves out of the water, trying to clear the rushing falls. Some fall back and must try again. Others leap straight into the jaws of a bear. For the salmon, this is often their final journey. For the bears, it is an important season of feeding before winter arrives. Two survival instincts meet in the same river. Salmon do this because they can recognize the chemical traces of the river where they were born. They return there to lay their eggs, giving the next generation a chance to begin life in an environment suited to them. This scene is both violent and heartbreaking. The salmon are not swimming away from death. They are swimming directly toward it, because that is how life continues. But not every animal moves in order to return home. Some move because their numbers become so enormous that even the sky begins to change. One locust isn't frightening. But what about millions of them? From a distance, a swarm can look like a dark cloud drifting low over farmland. But as it gets closer, people realize the cloud is alive. It has wings, it has a direction, and it's hungry. When a locust swarm lands, crops can be completely covered within minutes. Fresh leaves disappear. Grasslands are stripped bare. Fields that were once lush and green are left barren after the swarm moves on. Change in locust behavior. After periods of heavy rain, food becomes abundant, populations grow rapidly, and frequent contact between individuals causes them to shift from living alone to forming enormous swarms. From that moment, millions of locusts begin moving as a single, coordinated mass. For humans, this is more than just an unusual animal behavior. It is a winged agricultural disaster. The real danger doesn't come from the size of a single locust, but from their overwhelming numbers. A tiny insect multiplied by millions can erase the green from an entire landscape. Locusts descend from the sky, but after floods, an even stranger sight can appear on the ground when trees aren't covered by water, but by countless layers of spider silk. After a night of powerful winds, people across the American West woke up to find themselves buried inside their own homes. Outside, thousands of dry bushes had been swept in by the wind, piling into yellow-brown walls that blocked yards, garages, and even cars. From above, entire neighborhoods looked as though they had been swallowed by a massive wave. But what covered the streets was not snow, sand, or floodwater. It was tumbleweed, dry plants that break away from their roots after dying and are carried across open land by the wind.
Okay, we're freaking out. Oh my word. Hey, come back, Owen! Come back! Come in!
In arid regions, tumbleweeds roll across fields to scatter their seeds. But when thousands of them are pushed in the same direction, they can become trapped against fences, rooftops, driveways, and walls, turning an ordinary neighborhood into a dry, tangled maze within hours. Sometimes, nature does not need a flood or a violent storm to trap people right outside their own front doors. But when darkness falls in Texas, another strange phenomenon begins to rise from deep beneath the ground. Millions of wings leaving a cave at once. During the day, the entrance to the cave appears almost motionless. The rocks lie still. The air is hot. Everything seems to be asleep beneath the sunlight. But as sunset approaches, the darkness begins to move. The first bats emerge from the cave, then hundreds more, then thousands. Within moments, the sky above the cave transforms into a massive swirling river of black. They rise like smoke, but they do not fade away. They stream across the sky in long, flowing currents, heading toward places where insects are active after dark. Bats leave their caves at night to hunt. As the light fades, many insects become more active, creating a vast food source in the darkness. Flying out in enormous numbers also helps reduce the danger from predators waiting near the cave entrance. The sight transforms an ordinary cave into the doorway to another world. From inside the darkness, life pours into the sky in such overwhelming numbers that it looks like a storm being born beneath the earth. bats rise into the night to hunt, but on an island in the Indian Ocean, another species does not fly anywhere at all. Instead, it floods across the ground, over roads and through forests, driven by one destination, the sea. In the frigid waters near Antarctica, the ocean surface seems to be moving. Tens of thousands of king penguins surge through the silvery gray waves, forming a massive living river flowing toward the shore. After spending months feeding in the open ocean, they are finally returning to their colony where hungry chicks have been waiting on the beach. But the most dangerous part of their journey isn't far offshore. It's the final few meters before they reach land. The water suddenly becomes unnaturally calm. Beneath the rocky shallows near the colony, orcas are already waiting. They don't reveal themselves immediately. Instead, they move silently beneath the surface, watching the approaching penguins and blocking the only route home. Then black dorsal fins suddenly slice through the water. The entire colony erupts into panic. The penguins at the front rush desperately toward the beach, while those behind become trapped in the cold, churning water. Turning back means swimming straight into the orcas' hunting grounds. But if they fail to return, the chicks waiting on the shore will continue to go hungry. This is one of nature's cruelest paradoxes. They crossed the vast ocean to find food. Yet to bring that food home, they must gamble their lives just a few meters from their own colony. On Christmas Island, the tropical rainforest remains quiet for most of the year. But when the rainy season arrives, the ground begins to change color. Millions of red crabs emerge from their forest burrows and begin an extraordinary journey toward the sea. They crawl across roads, bridges, backyards, steep cliffs, and slippery slopes. At times, the landscape looks as though it has been covered by a flowing red carpet. People cannot stop the migration. Instead, they step aside, build barriers, close certain roads, and help guide the crabs safely along their route. The climax of the journey isn't on the roads. It's at the ocean's edge. When the timing is just right, female crabs move close to the waves and release their eggs into the sea. Within only a few moments, millions of eggs enter the ocean where a new generation can begin. This migration happens because red crabs must return to the sea to complete their reproductive cycle. Its timing depends on the rainy season humidity the lunar cycle, and the tides. If they arrive at the wrong moment, the eggs may have little chance of surviving. Unlike dramatic predator-prey encounters, this spectacle is remarkable in a different way. For a brief period each year, an entire island seems to yield to the instinctive breeding journey of a small crab. From millions of red crabs covering the ground, we now move to a creature whose time on land is even shorter. And because that time is so brief, it appears in numbers that are almost impossible to imagine. Every year as summer begins to fade across North America, monarch butterflies start flying south. From Canada and the northern United States, they head toward the mountain forests of Mexico. Seen alone, a single monarch butterfly seems almost too fragile for a journey stretching thousands of kilometers. Its thin wings, tiny body, and light weight make it look as if even one strong gust of wind could knock it down. But then something strange begins to happen. At first, only a few appear across fields and roadsides. Then hundreds, then thousands. Finally, the sky seems to be covered with moving dots of orange and black. But this journey is anything but gentle. They must push through strong winds, heavy rain, cold temperatures, and landscapes where their habitat is disappearing more and more. A sudden storm can blow an entire group off course. An early cold snap can leave thousands unable to continue. Only a portion of them truly reach their winter refuge. When they arrive in Mexico, millions of butterflies cling densely to tree trunks and branches. As sunlight passes through the forest, the entire colony takes flight, turning the quiet air into a massive orange rain. Scientifically, monarch butterflies use sunlight, Earth's magnetic field, and inherited instinct to navigate. Many individuals do not live long enough to return to where the journey began, but the next generation still continues along the same route. This is not just a migration. It is a survival race that stretches across generations. As dusk falls over vast wetlands, the sky at first looks completely still. Then from far away, small black dots begin to appear. They are not flying alone. Flocks of starlings arrive one after another, merging together and quickly transforming into a giant living cloud. Within minutes, thousands of wings fill the sky, bending, twisting, and rushing forward like a black wave that never stops changing shape. For the people standing below the scene, looks as if the sky itself is moving. But for the birds, this is not just a beautiful performance. When a predator appears, the entire flock instantly changes direction. There is no leader giving commands. Each bird simply reacts to the birds flying closest to it, creating a chain of movement that spreads almost instantly. The tighter they fly together, the harder it becomes for a predator to lock on to one individual target. That is why a flock can turn fear into a weapon. Thousands of small creatures merge into one moving mass, making the entire sky unpredictable. And when the flock finally drops down into the reed beds, the ground becomes silent again. But somewhere else on Earth, the ground itself can disappear beneath people's feet. These moments remind us that life is never small when it moves together. Of all the incredible scenes you have just witnessed, which one did you find the most extraordinary? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And to continue exploring unbelievable stories from the natural world, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey.